Good morning, students. Today in Pedagogy of Biological and Physical Sciences, we are going to discuss about Unit 9, Subunit 5, Elements of Biological and Physical Science lesson. Okay, so what are the different elements and components are there in the lesson plan that we are going to discuss today. So let us move into the elements of the lesson. So if we see the introduction part, so teacher needs to design various learning situations in creative and innovative manner. Okay, this we all know that teacher should not be rigid to any particular format. He should prepare the lesson plan. The design of the lesson plan should be very innovative or creative manner. Okay, and that should be cater to the learning needs of different learners. Okay, for example, we are having so many formats of the lesson. Okay, like as we are preparing the lesson plans nowadays, like micro teaching lesson plan, reflective teaching lesson plan, and so many we have concept mapping, digital lesson, okay, vital lesson, like so many lessons we have. But apart from all those formats, it should cater the needs of the learners. Okay, so those all formats are very good. They are prepared for the welfare of the students, but here you have to see the needs of the learners, in what way they are going to learn or which format suits to their learning needs. That you have to prepare the lesson or design the lesson according to their needs. And there can certain basic elements of a lesson plan. Knowledge of these basic elements of a lesson plan will be a great help to you in planning for the lesson design. So these are the elements of a lesson plan. So if you have a proper knowledge of these elements, it is very helpful for you to prepare a effective lesson plan. So see the first there are 8 elements we have. So the first one is title of the lesson or unit, then learning objectives and key concepts of the time frame, next pre-existing knowledge, materials, equipment, resources, next introduction, next presentation, then assessment, then the last one is extended learning and assignment. Okay, so let's discuss each and every element of this lesson. Okay, and it is important to understand that this is not a rigid picture of a lesson. Means, as we have discussed here, these 8 steps, okay, it should not be there in the lesson as it is we have discussed here. According to the flexibility of your classroom situations, you can either add or delete some elements according to the needs of the learners. And there are a number of ways to design a lesson, and teacher may think on many innovative designs. Okay, so here as a teacher you should not completely avoid these steps or completely follow these steps. Okay, according to the situations, you use your creativity and innovativeness in order to design the lesson. And the learning needs of the learners, nature of the context of the concepts, learning situations, and own resourcefulness, these all you have to take into consideration. Needs of the learners, okay, nature and context of the concepts, okay, learning situations, and own resourcefulness, means what are the resources you have, what are the needs of the learners, and what is the nature of the concept which you are going to teach, whether it is theoretical, practical, okay, engagement, those all things. And teacher may need to change, add, omit or delete some elements as move from one lesson to another, and even when the classroom interactions are going on in order to meet different needs of the learners, important elements, okay, different needs of the learners. So here, as I told you, it is not necessary to use all the steps accordingly as it is given in the format. Okay, you can use those steps, you can add some, you can delete some. Okay, so here you need to see the context and nature of the lesson, needs of the learner, and situation of the teaching. These 3 things you have to take into consideration. Based upon that, you do some modifications in the lesson. Okay, so the important elements are, see the first one is title of the lesson, okay, that we all declare in during the introduction of the lesson. The second one is learning objectives and key concepts. This is a very important step in the lesson planning. Learning objectives means these are the achievements or end goals of your lesson, what the students able to do or what you want to make them to achieve during your teaching learning process. So objectives are the first step in the process of planning learning. So what you do before entering into the lesson, before writing the steps, you frame the objectives, like what you want to do in the students achievements. Okay, what you make them to do, that is the main thing. What you make them to do after your teaching learning process, that is the learning objectives. So this is the first step in the planning of the lesson, and thus from the basis of the subsequent steps on the plan. Okay, and objectives of the lesson need to be planned by keeping in view the nature of science. Okay, again here you have to take the consideration of science. Okay, like what is science here? It is a systematic body, it is a dynamic body, it is based upon the scientific inquiry, curiosity, okay, scientific attitude, scientific temperament. These are all qualities you must remember. The qualities of the science and the names and nature of science you must remember while you are planning the lesson, so by teaching this you are developing interest towards the science, you are developing the values of the science, you are developing the characteristics of a science students by teaching the concepts. So based upon that you have to prepare the objectives, so that such concepts or such statements you have to present in the lesson, so that these develop all these characteristics of a science students. And aims of learning biological and physical sciences. Why we are studying biological and physical sciences? What is the need to study these subjects? So that also should reflect in your lesson plan. And context of the learner and their needs. Okay, context means situation. In what situation they are studying, in which concept they are studying, what is the need to study that concept, what is the important of that concept in the present situation and for the future. These are all you have to consider while preparing the learning objectives. And suppose objectives, if framed properly, provide the direction for planning teaching learning experiences. So here if you determine the objectives properly, okay, it shows the guidance to you, it shows the direction to you, that in what way you have to lead your lesson. Okay, that is the main thing. And learning experiences as well as recapitulation and evaluation, these are all things you can easily implement in the classroom. What experiences you have to give, what recapitulation means, summary or just comes under recapitulation, and evaluation, what questions also you have to ask, that also you get an idea in this preparation of learning objectives. And suppose teacher is transacting Archimedes principle. Okay, for example here if we are transacting Archimedes principle to students, and frame your objectives as, okay, how do you frame your objectives? Stating the Archimedes principle. First you state the principle, what is this principle, then verifying the principle experimentally. So this is the principle, so we have to verify it through experimentation. So like this, here you are stating the principle and you are verifying it. So these are the objectives. In this way, if you state the objectives, you can also achieve the learning outcomes same, like students also able to state the objective, state the principle of Archimedes, and they able to prove the Archimedes principle experimentally. Okay, so what the objectives you are stating here or preparing here means, those are the outcomes of your classroom. Okay, at the end you are achieving those objectives in the form of outcomes of the students. Okay, so whenever you are preparing the objectives, you should be conscious that what I want to do or what I want to make them to do. That is the main thing you have to focus here. And now it is clear that lesson will proceed in the direction of statements of the principle. Okay, so it's explanation and demonstration for experimental verification. So based upon these two objectives, like the stating the Archimedes principle and verifying the principle experimentally, you lead your lesson in that way. Okay, your complete focus on make the students to understand the principle and make them to perform the experiment to prove this principle experimentally. Okay, so that is so you focus completely in your class on these two objectives. And here one more example for biological science, stating the Mendel's principle and verifying the principle experimentally. Okay, Mendel is the is related to genetics. Okay, here whatever contributions he has made for the genetics, okay, so that we can verify through performing experiments in the genetics, like drawing the genetic diagrams and all. Next, learning objectives must be in the form of learning indicators and academic standards. So how do you write these learning objectives? We write in the form of academic standards. We all know what are academic standards. These are the intended learning outcomes. Okay, and we have 7 7 academic standards both in biology as well as physical science. Okay, so like starting from conceptual understanding, asking questions and making hypotheses, okay, in information and project skills, okay, field investigation and experimentation, okay, communication through drawing and model making, appreciation and aesthetic sense, okay, and application to the daily life and concern towards the biodiversity. So these are the 7 academic standards we have in our both sciences, biology as well as physical science. So through any lesson if you are taking, or any topic you are taking, you have to complete all these 7 academic standards. Okay, so mostly in all the concepts these 7 academic standards we can achieve, but some concepts are there, okay, some dry concepts will be there, they are not based upon the experimental evidences. So in that some academic standards you can eliminate, okay, based upon the context situation. But see, the science is everything, in the science everything is based upon the scientific evidence only. So we cannot say that we cannot remove any one academic standard from the format or lesson plan. Okay, so here the teacher must try to achieve this all the academic standards in any topic, given topic. Next, third one is pre-existing knowledge. So what is pre-existing knowledge? We have to check the previous knowledge of the students before entering into the lesson, that is only pre-existing knowledge. This is also very crucial. See, in the each step of lesson planning is very important. If you skip it, you cannot transact the lesson effectively. Each and every element is having its own importance to transacting the content. So here, by pre-existing knowledge means the knowledge and experiences which teacher consider essential for students to possess for learning the lesson being planned. Means, so the lesson which is going to discuss today, or which they are going to transact today in the class. So for transacting that lesson, this knowledge is very important, so that they can connect a bridge between the knowledge and information process. So those earlier experiences and concepts learnt by the students which are crucial for comprehension of the lesson should be considered in previous knowledge for their better understanding. Okay, so for better understanding you must connect the lesson with the previous knowledge. Until and unless the students cannot gain better conceptual understanding. So paying attention to previous and existing knowledge helps a teacher to identify misconceptions and naive concepts of students and reconstruct their ideas that are scientifically accepted. So see, in previous classes we have discussed about misconceptions and naive concepts, that students come with their own ideas and understandings because they already come across such concepts in their daily life or in their environment, but they form their own meaning of that concept because they did not study in the science class, so they don't know what are the basic scientific evidence or facts which support those theories. So they form their own concepts that is called as misconception, naive concepts. So here those concepts are reconstructed because here with the help of scientific evidences we teach the students about those concepts. So those misconceptions will be removed and the new construction of the knowledge with the proper scientific evidence is formed. Next, fourth one is teaching learning materials and involving learners in arranging them. Okay, teaching learning materials like TLM, one column is there in our teaching steps. Okay, so how should be the teaching learning material, what are the importance of teaching learning material, how frequently you have or how effectively you have to use those teaching learning material, that we will discuss here. So teaching learning materials aid in learning. Aid is nothing but assisting or helping. That's the reason we also call it as teaching aids. Okay, that assist the teacher as well as students in order to transact the lesson effectively, in order to make the concept more precise and understandable. Okay, it also reduces the burden of the teacher and it also make the complex concepts into simpler ones. So teaching learning materials aid in learning. These can be equipment, apparatus, model, chart, real objects, video, audio video aids, etc. So anything these from these things are called as teaching learning material. So it may be a equipment, okay, or any apparatus, or model, working model or any visible model, or chart, okay, real objects, anything you bring to the class, real object, that is also a teaching learning material. And video, audio video aids, etc., these are all called as teaching learning material. We must have use these teaching learning materials in the classroom in order to facilitate teaching learning process more smoothly and effectively. So learning can be reinforced with teaching learning materials. Okay, so reinforced means here promoted or rewarded. Learning can be rewarded with the help of this, appreciated with the help of this teaching learning materials of different varieties. So see, you should use different variety of teaching learning materials. Okay, most frequently we use chart models. Okay, every time it become as a monotonous. So here we must use variety of teaching learning materials. Okay, anything you can bring to the class from different varieties so that it can grab the attention of the students towards the lesson, because they stimulate, motivate, as well as capture learners attention. So what these teaching learning materials do, they stimulate, okay, and they motivate, and they as well as capture the learner's attention for a while during the teaching learning process. Okay, so for some time they grab the attention of the students when you are using this teaching learning material. And while selecting appropriate teaching learning material for our classroom, teacher need to make sure that they should cater to the needs of learners learning with various learning styles. Okay, so whenever you are using appropriate teaching learning materials, it caters the needs of the students. Like, see, there are different learning styles. You have already studied in the psychology in the first semester. The individuals are having different learning styles. Okay, some learn through visual. Okay, some learn through auditory learning, by listening some learn, by seeing some students learn, by doing some students learn. Okay, so by writing, by drawing some students learn. So there are different types of learning style students are existing in our classroom. So to cater their needs, we have to use different types of strategies, methods, and teaching learning materials in the class, so that each and every type of learning style learner can get benefit because of our teaching. So if you use such type of teaching learning material, see, some students cannot understand by only listening to your lecture. If you show something like a chart, a model with an explanation, so that will make their understanding more easier. So that is the importance of using teaching learning material in the classroom. And appropriate, you should use appropriate. For example, you are teaching about diffusion or osmosis. Okay, you can easily show in the classroom with the help. For example, about diffusion you are showing, bring a spray to the classroom and spray it. Okay, and ask the last corner of the student whether you are able to sense the smell of this spray. Okay, so like that you can explain the process of diffusion, like molecules are moving from one higher concentration to the lower concentration. So like this is the students are involving in the process. They experienced it directly, like direct purposeful experiences we have studied in the Edgar Dale Cone of learning experiences. So like this, so see, better in what way we can teach better, that you have to understand here. Okay, or for instead of teaching like this, you draw the diagram of a spray bottle and molecules are moving from one place to another place, you draw on a chart. Okay, it's good, but it is not appropriate. When you can show this in the form in a real way, okay, by spraying the bottle in one corner of the class, and in another corner they can see that how diffusion process take place. This is the very nice and very exact and appropriate example. Our teaching learning material, see here, spray bottle. Okay, the spray, the any spray, okay, like perfume or anything, that is the teaching learning material here. Okay, teaching learning material is anything which is helping the students to understand the concept. Okay, so that is, this appropriateness should you have to use in the class, like which is taught effectively by using what, that you have to know as a teacher. Okay, you are drawing chart, you are making a model, or you are doing an experiment, you can do anything, but the appropriateness make a big difference, like what strategy you have used or what teaching learning material you have used here to explain your students. That appropriateness is very important here, that you should remember, so that it can cater the learning needs of the students. And while entering the class, it is important to make sure that all teaching learning materials are ready for use. Okay, like you have prepared, or maybe those teaching learning materials are prepared in the last year. Okay, again you have to check its functionality, whether they are working properly or not, whether any part is missing, or whether any part is damaged. Okay, so those all things you have to check priorly. And it is also important to check that all these materials are in proper functioning order. And teachers should have a clear vision when and how to use these materials. Okay, he must know, for example, there are different teaching learning materials you have prepared. One teaching learning material is for introduction, you have prepared, like for example you have prepared flashcard for introduction, chart for the explanation, and a model for the activity. So these three things you have to use appropriately in those situations only, in those steps only you have to use. Okay, you should not forget to use, either you should not use all these things in one step or any other step. Appropriately you have to use, so that the content should be transacted as it is, whatever you have planned. So that is the main thing here. Not only preparing teaching aid, you must know how to use those teaching aids, or at what time you have to use those aids. And when these are not in use, they should be placed away from the view of the students to avoid distraction. Okay, what happened, teacher brought all the material and keep it on the front table of the students. Okay, so that what happened, all the students are focusing on that teaching aid only, instead of listening the teacher's classroom. So you should place it somewhere whenever it is required. At that time only you have to take that aid and start teaching with the help of that aid. Don't keep in front of the student, or don't display all the aids at once starting only. Okay, whatever you have brought in the class, don't display all those aids in the starting only. When that aid explanation is coming, when that is required, that time only take and display the material. Okay, if you display earlier or without context, what happened, they always watch that only that aid only, and they distracted from your lesson. So this should not be happen. And in case of using equipment, students are not familiar with it, it's better to say a few words about the equipment before using it. For example, if you brought a microscope or magnifying glass or any other thing like vernier caliper, screw gauge, because that is the first time they are seeing those equipments, so they don't know anything about it, give a little bit introduction about that equipment, how to use, what is its purpose, by using it what we can able to do. These are all things you have to explain the students, so that students' curiosity about the new objects is taken care of. Learners should be involved in procuring the materials for the preparation of activities, so that what happen, their curiosity will be satisfied, they learn how to use that particular equipment. Okay, and they also start preparing activities, and they start arranging and manipulating the equipment and apparatus, and experiments to be performed. And such involvement can provide learners an opportunity to explore resources available in their surroundings. Okay, so what happen, if you make them to aware about the equipment and the apparatus to the students, so what they do, they start exploring about that equipment, they start collecting information, they start doing experiments by using those knowledge, and the skills they gain in such a process have their own worth. So see, the things by they learn through their own exploration, that is worth, because they learn by themselves, they constructively and they actively involved in the teaching learning process, and that is very worthful, and the retention of that concepts also very long lasting. And students learn to volunteer for various responsibilities. So if you involve the students in the arrangement of apparatus, equipment, so they take responsibilities in the class, and see, after some days of this such type of instruction, the students only start bringing the equipment to the class, they only start performing the activities, they find out the conclusions and results, they come and they show to the teacher. So here see, if in starting from starting only you are make them to involve in the teaching learning activities and how to use the apparatus, equipments and all things, they become bold. Okay, they start doing by themselves. So this is the main aim of our education, that involving students and make them to responsible for their own studies and learning. That will happen here. See, next day when the activity is conducted, their motivational level and involvement in the lesson is observed, certainly to be of higher order, as they have themselves planned and brought materials for it. So from next day onwards, they themselves take the responsibility and they start doing experiments. Okay, but here sometimes teacher should not be very strict to touch any equipment or apparatus so that it may get damaged. Okay, you should not completely give freedom, should not completely restricted them. You should keep an eye on them, that what they are doing, how they are handling the apparatus. Okay, so this makes the students very learn the concepts very effective, and they also learn the skills very well. And students get opportunity to learn something on their own about something they themselves have decided to learn, and in the manner they wish to learn. Okay, so here what happen, you are giving freedom, you are involving in the activity, so what happen, they learn whatever they want to learn, in what way they want to learn, they learn in that way. Okay, so that is the main aim of this. Next, it helps in making teaching learning process more effective. Then teaching learning of every topic in science should possibly be supplemented with appropriate activities or practicals, because each and every science topic is based upon the evidences. So all this topic we have to supplement it with appropriate activities and practical, and therefore it is essential to have sophisticated laboratories full of apparatus. So in our schools also there must be a sophisticated, means well equipped laboratory should be there with full of apparatus and equipment. In fact, such facility is not always available, but in fact we won't get such type of facility always available in our schools, but teacher has to try maximum to efforts to put he can put maximum efforts to facilitate the learning of science with the help of this practical science activities. Then see, an innovative teacher may prepare many improvised apparatus. See, what is the meaning of improvised apparatus here? Improvisation is the term that refers to the construction of a teaching aid. Okay, improvised apparatus means the apparatus which is made by teacher or the students for facilitating the learning. Okay, if anything is not available in the lab or in the school resources, what they do, they construct themselves. That is called improvised apparatus. Okay, so for example, if you do not have any microscope or any magnifying glass, you are using other lenses in order to study the concepts in the class. That is called as improvised apparatus. Means by using the basic local resources or the basic available materials, you are making your own apparatus. Okay, that is called improvised apparatus. Okay, so see, some things are things are available easily in our surroundings, in our home. Some waste products are used things, okay, that can be used as a material for preparing this improvised apparatus. Okay, see, there is a very good example of improvised apparatus is our scientists. See, our scientists of ancient days basically depended on improvisation in order to show their inventions or results. See, at that time, in the olden days, there is no proper equipment and instruments. Okay, so how the scientists used to discover their things? They made their own improvised apparatus by the basically available cheap and easily available material. They used to prepare these apparatus, and with those things they conducted experiments, inventions for their results. So like that only here, teacher also prepares some improvised apparatus so that you can also teach the students how to recycle the things, how to use the waste material for productive work. And this practice is helpful in making the teaching learning learner centered, activity oriented and participatory. Okay, so here this is also become as a learner centered. Learners are involving in the activities, activity oriented and participatory. And it helps the learners in inculcating scientific temperament and provides scope to develop creativity. Okay, so if they are handling with the apparatus, instruments and equipments, what happen? Their scientific temperament, their attitude will be enhanced, and scope out to develop creativity. They will become creative. And improvised apparatus is repairable, replaceable, and disposable. Okay, so these improvised apparatus is repairable. You can repair this improvised apparatus, and replaceable, you can again replace it by making its parts again, breaking down the parts again. You can synthesize the parts according to your need and convenience. And disposable, you can also dispose it. So like that, these are very cheapest material and they are effective in the classroom. Next, coming to the introduction. So how do you introduce or take introduction part or element in the lesson? A good beginning is crucial for the success of any endeavor. Okay, so beginning, introduction is the beginning part. Relating to learning with everyday life experiences of the learner generates interest for learning new concepts. So main purpose of introduction is to motivate and prepare the students to learn the topic by relating their existing knowledge with the new knowledge. So see this, how we introduce a lesson. We test the previous knowledge, or we do mind mapping in the lesson. Okay, we ask the students different questions, basic questions which are related to the concept or which may lead to the concept. Okay, so that is carrying out activities and experiments and raising questions. We do these things commonly in introduction session. Clarify the objectives of the lesson. Okay, we, after declaring the topic, we clarify the objectives and what we are going to study today. We declare in the topic and create interest among the students and establish continuity of the lesson. Highlight the importance of the lesson, involving students in an activity and listening to their questions, narrating an anecdote, historical event, life history of the scientist related to the topic. Okay, so in introduction also, if any scientist is there in the lesson, for example you are teaching about cell and its structure in biology, you describe about the Robert Hooke. Okay, how he has how he has observed the structure of a cell, and how he has invented the microscope, and also it creates curiosity among the students. Okay, and it is a good beginning in the introduction of a lesson. And for example, you are teaching about any electricity or circuits, bulbs, teach about Thomas Alva Edison. Okay, how much struggle he did for finding the lightening of the bulb. Okay, how many filaments he has used for that thing. Okay, so these things create interest among the students, and it is a good beginning to teach a good concept. And narrating stories, incidents about any lesson. Okay, like that. Then present a brief outline of the lesson, presenting a challenging idea, situation and problem to the students, presenting a problem to the students, and raise curiosity among the students, test their previous knowledge. These are all things we can do in the introduction session. So while the teacher is introducing the lesson, how much time should be given to the introduction? Okay, so certainly there can be no one answer to the question. First, decide what type of technique or introduction are applying, which in turn depends on the nature of the content of the lesson. So there is a no proper time. Usually we take 5 to 10 minutes for the introduction of the lesson, and in lesson planning also we allocate for 5 to 10 minutes of time for the introduction, but it is not compulsory to you have to take 5 to 10 only. It's again, I told you, the needs of the learner, context of the lesson and situation. Based upon that you can continue, extend, or you may short your introduction process. See, if it is a new unit, whole period may be devoted to introduction. If it is a completely new unit, okay, whole period you have to give for the introduction. Okay, and where there are so many subtopics, subunits, all will be there in that unit. So all will be discussed with the students. Like in this unit, these many subunits are there, subtopics are there. So I'll give the brief introduction of all those subtopics. And whereas if it is a continuation of the previous lesson, a brief recapitulation, like what you have learned in the previous class, just ask them some questions and give brief recapitulation, and testing of previous knowledge maybe do well. Then presentation of the lesson. Now here the presentation or explanation part comes here in presentation. So presentation development of the lesson should be in accordance with the objectives of the lesson. See, whatever objectives or academic standards you have prepared to achieve those at the end of the classroom, according to that you have to present the lesson. Means in order to achieve those objectives, you have to present your lesson in that way, so that they can able to do those things at the end of the lesson. And classroom environment and infrastructure available, and learning context of the students, nature of the subject matter, teacher own context, these things you have to remember. And it involves splitting of the lesson unit into smaller ones for a given period. Okay, so the unit you divided into sub concept, and one particular concept you take for one particular period, and including a number of activities to help learners to observe, feel, reflect and arrive. So you perform so many things like activity, experiment, okay, group discussions, demonstrations. You do all those things in order to help the learners to observe, feel and reflect and arrive at ideas through their own experiences. And learning experiences of students can be enriched by activities and experiments. Okay, so instead of only just teaching them with the with oral lecture, okay, you can do activities and experiment, assessment that is intertwined with all stages of the lesson. See, questions are very important in the lesson. In each and every step you ask questions. It doesn't mean in the testing previous knowledge you have asked some questions and at the end of the lesson we ask questions to evaluate the students knowledge. It's not like that. Throughout the question you have to ask, throughout the lesson you have to ask the questions to the students in order to sustain their level of interest in the classroom. Okay, in between explanation also, some concepts are something they may be know, they may not be know, but if you ask that question they become alert. Okay, their curiosity will be raised. Okay, so their thought process will be started. So continuously after some time you put some questions in front of the student, so to involve the students in the classroom situation. And computer simulation and other interactive software, reviewed web pages, these all things you can use in the classroom. Discussion and argumentation, argue on some topics like why it is like this only or like this only, okay, why it cannot be like that. Okay, so make the groups and make them to argue on the topic so that better understanding of the topic, and it should lead to the conclusion of the topic. Okay, and teacher should see during this argumentation should be a positive type of environment in the classroom. He should promote a good atmosphere among the students, and he should see what type of arguments they are doing. Okay, wherever they are misleading he should correct their performance. And pre-lab and post-lab discussion to engage learners in thinking, planning and relating knowledge with their existing ideas. Okay, so before the lab, lab and after lab discussions, these all things. Look, before going to the lab you have to explain them what is the aim of the experiment, okay, objectives, procedure, everything. Okay, and after the lab you have to discuss about your results, findings in the class. These all things comes under the presentation of the content. And you can also conduct quiz, project, field visit also based upon the nature of that concept, and review and feedback of all the concepts which you have discussed. And next, assessment and acceptable evidences that shows learners understanding. So assessment is nothing but what? Evaluation and judging the students performance. And this purpose of this element of a lesson plan is to get feedback from learners. In fact, assessment should be an integral part of the design of a lesson. Okay, see, assessment, there is no, as I told you, you should frequently ask the questions to the students throughout the lesson. Okay, there is no particular time to ask questions. Okay, so that is called as assessment is the integral part of the lesson. Always you should ask questions so that in order to understand their level of understanding and performance. And learning evidences acquaint the teachers about students' understanding of concepts and how they show meaning of fact, concepts and application of knowledge. Okay, so here it give you the evidences that how they are understanding the concepts. And evidences of learning comes from the assessment of student work such as experiments, presentation, homework, assignment, explanation, worksheet, test, project, etc. So in this all way you can judge their performances, how they are conducting the experiments, presentation, homework, assignment, explanation, worksheets, test, project. In these all the tools of the assessment. So in this you can understand their performance. And determining learning evidences. So what are the evidences which determine their performance? So in that, the first one is set objectives. We set the objectives in such a way so that we can at the end we can check whether these objectives are achieved or not. So by checking those objectives we can determine the assessment or evidences of their performance. And identify the ends. We can identify the ends Okay, how do you identify the ends? By learning ends should be a part of a vision for the learner, or what you envision about the learner to know, like what you want to see in the learner, whether he want to explain the concept, whether he want to perform the experiment, whether he want to draw a you want to draw a diagram, whether you want to conduct any activity, assessment or project. In what way you want to check the performance of the students to understand whether the desired learning outcomes has occurred or not. That is the identify ends, means in what way you want to see your outcomes. That is the identifying of ends, whether you want to explain them, whether you want to perform them. That comes under identify the ends. Then expand or recombine. Okay, so how you are getting your evidences here? By expanding or recombine, such as knowledge, skills, activities, behavior. By assessing everything, you are checking their learning attainment levels. That is called as expand and recombine, like the such as knowledge, specific skills and performances or learning objectives. These all things you assess. These are the determining factors to assess their performance. And determine acceptable evidences for collecting indicators of learning. So what are the acceptable evidences for collecting for indicators of learning? Means this shows that they have learned the concept. What evidence will prove that students have achieved the objectives or completed the problem? Okay, what will they or should they be able to do? Give evidence of learning. Okay, and can the proposed evidence enable teacher to infer learners knowledge, skill and or understanding? So by making such questions by yourself, you can prepare the learning outcomes, like if they do these things, if they perform these things, if they conduct these experiments, it means they have learned the concept. So that end programs are those evidences. If you collect, that is your assessment or that is your learning outcomes. By this we can assess the students performances. And what specific here the teacher should know the learner's thought process along with their answers or solutions, means how they are answering the question, how they are explaining the concept, how they are performing the experiment. By seeing that, you can assess their thought process. Okay, and what specific characteristics are in the learner's responses should be examined to determine what the extent to which the learning objectives are achieved. Okay, so by seeing their characteristics, see for example, if the student is explaining the concept very well in his own words, it means you can understand he has understood the concept very well, because he is explaining in his own words. When you can able to explain your own words, when you analyze the concept and when you synthesize it in your own meaning. Okay, so these type of evidences give to the teachers that the concept has understood by the students and the learning has been take place. Okay, see if for example we can say that if any student what we can say, for example, if a student who can explain why steam, water and ice, okay, those superficially different. Their steam, water and ice, these three are superficially different. Their physical state is different. Okay, are the same chemical substance has a better understanding. Okay, but when the student is saying this is ice, this is water and this is steam. Okay, but they are having the same chemical structure, like hydrogen, oxygen and hydrogen molecules and oxygen molecules. Okay, so the students who have understand that this basic concepts, it means they have understood very well. Okay, rather than the student who knows that only the formula of water is H2O. Okay, so rather than that, the students who understood the concept ice, steam and water, okay, these three are different but their chemical composition is the same. So see here how the students are applying their intellectual ability. By this thing we can evaluate their understanding level, their performance level, and how they are thinking in the classroom situation, and what is their style of learning we can easily assess. And planning of the acceptable evidences of learning for assessment. So here the teacher has to plan properly whenever he is preparing the objectives. At that time only he has to plan what are the objectives and what are the outcomes we have to check to after the teaching learning process. Next, extended learning or assignment. See here, at the end of the class, after assessment, what you do, extended learning. You do not stop the student to study the concept there only. You give extended learning to the students in the form of assignments, projects, okay, so that you can maintain their curiosity, their interest level, okay, further sessions, okay, because I told you science is a dynamic body. So if we are studying any concept in the class, that do not stop there only. Daily some domain of knowledge is adding to that concept. Daily some innovation and research is going on to the particular body of science. So make the student to involve in that concept to continue his learning process, okay, by giving extended learning. You can give assignment also, project also, okay. You ask them to collect more information about the concept in order to get more knowledge about that particular concept. This is called extended learning. You are continuing the student to learn about the concept, okay, for further sessions and in his for his future also, okay. Like this, the student develop curiosity, okay, gathering the information and collecting the information. This is very helpful for the student to make them to continue learning process in their future purpose, okay. This is about extending learning assignments, okay. You can give one assignment to the class or separate assignment to the groups in the class, okay, so that it depend upon the teacher, context and needs of the learner. An assignment should be planned for extended learning, self learning and in a forward looking manner rather than only in a backward looking manner, okay. So doing routine type exercises at the end of the lesson, and learners can also be given assignment at the planning stage of the lesson in if a principle has been transacted, okay. So if you can also give at the starting stage of assignment in the starting stage of the class also, okay. Like if a principle has been transacted in the class and the students are given an assignment to make a model based on the principle for extended learning, they will not only understand the principle better, they understand and construction and working and model making skills will also get enhanced. For example, you are teaching about simple circuit, okay. So in the give the introduction of simple circuit and how do you construct the simple circuit. So ask them to make with the help of using the waste material or like the used batteries and used wires or the segments of wires in the home, whatever they are having. With the help of that, ask them to construct a model of simple circuit, okay. Like that, through they also involve, they construct these things for their effective learning and better understanding. So like this, based upon the context, you can give assignments at the end of the classroom, at the end of the lesson or at the starting of the lesson, okay. It's up to the teacher, okay. Clear? These all are the elements of the lesson, okay. These are all steps we use as elements in our lesson, and these are very important. Teacher must try to cover all these elements in our class, okay. Like learning title of the lesson, learning objectives and key concepts of the time, pre-existing knowledge, materials, equipment, resources, introduction, presentation, assessment, extended learning, assignment. These all are the elements of the lesson and you must cover these all elements during your lesson, okay. Thank you.